And amid all kinds of global economic instabilities, just under 2 weeks before the day, Indonesia announced its economy and growth remains strong and resilient amid all these pressures. Just under 2 weeks before Indonesia's 77th Independence Day commemorations, Indonesia announced that annual economic growth remains expansive at 5.44% in the second quarter, which beats analyst expectations, and was also higher than growth in the first quarter, as healthy domestic consumption continued to drive Indonesia's growth, even amidst global economic pressures like inflation, monetary policy tightening, and soaring energy prices.
Indonesia even managed to outperform the economies of many advanced countries and regions like the Eurozone and the US, which saw 2 consecutive contractions in GDP this year. Indonesia also outperformed China, which saw a major slowdown in the second quarter due to strict COVID lockdowns. "77 years since its independence, Indonesia's economy remains strong and rapid developments still continue."
And thanks to continuous economic development programs, which have spanned decades, Indonesia is now among the top 20 largest economies in the world and is potentially set to become the 4th largest economy in the world by the year 2045. Metro Globe Network's Krishna Sam reports.
Indonesia's economy has certainly come a long way and grown exponentially since gaining independence on August 17th in 1945.
Menetapkan Undang-Undang Dasar 1945 berlaku lagi.
In the early years of Indonesia's independence, the country was one of the poorest in the world. But 77 years since then, Indonesia has risen to become one of the top 20 largest economies in the world. But things weren't always easy. After its independence, Indonesia was deep in debt with the Netherlands, dealing with hyperinflation, while production was crippled due to damages suffered following the war for independence. In the first year of its independence, Indonesia's GDP per capita stood at 5,523,000 rupiah. And by 1961, Indonesia's GDP was at 390.2 billion rupiah. But since then, Indonesia's economy has seen rapid growth, with its GDP reaching 16,970.8 trillion rupiah by 2021, while GDP per capita has soared to 62.2 million rupiah, or $4,349. And in 2021, Indonesia was ranked as having the 16th largest economy in the world, breaking into the G20 and becoming the chair of the G20 forums in 2022.
Ini adalah sebuah kepercayaan dan kehormatan bagi Indonesia menerima presidensi G20. Kepercayaan ini adalah kesempatan bagi Indonesia untuk berkontribusi lebih besar bagi pemulihan ekonomi dunia, untuk membangun tata kelola dunia yang lebih sehat, lebih adil dan berkelanjutan.
From 1969 to 1994, the Indonesian government went into a period of intense economic development and transformation, implementing 5-year development plans conducted consecutively over the space of 2.5 decades. Among others, the programs focused on increasing food production, developing the country's various industries to boost non-oil exports, ensuring equal development in all islands across the country, improving education, developing transportation and communication, and by 1990, the percentage of the population in poverty went down to 15.1% from 60% in 1970, and from 1983 to 1996, non-oil exports skyrocketed by 637.7%, foreign investments rose by 937%, and finally, from 1990 to 1998, GDP growth averaged at 7% per year. Indonesia is indeed rich in natural resources, including oil. But instead of just relying on raw exports, since its independence, Indonesia has made it a point to make broad developments, including developing its manufacturing and processing industries to boost its exports and provide a strong foundation for Indonesia's economy.
So previously in the pre-independence era, under the colonializations, we exported very raw materials at the time, sugarcane, and then rice. We also exporting many of the spices at the time. So it's very raw, unprocessed materials. And moving to the 1970s up to reform era, we're moving toward more industrial process. So there is a decline comparing with the raw materials or semi-processed materials compared with the finished good of the industry. So there is a huge developments in terms of the transformations from the raw materials to the industry. And instead of we exporting raw materials and we imported finished goods, what happened right now is we exporting until the finished goods, battery, spare part of the electric vehicle, and so on. I think this is a good achievement.
If we look back, for example, after the independence, during the old order era, during that time, the economic development, pretty much slower, and because of the political instability after the independence. But after the old order, and then came the new order, we started to have a higher growth. Manufacturing, we have developed manufacturing to promote our growth, and we also strengthen our fundamental strength in agriculture, and also build infrastructure. And that's why during the new order era, our economic growth is one of the highest in the world. We have even over 7% annually.
Now, Indonesia is in another phase of development, implementing a 20-year development plan from 2005 until 2025. Broken down and segmented into 5-year medium-term development plans, it covers everything from improving the country's human resources, promoting capacity building in technology and science, increasing the competitiveness of natural resources by developing its downstreaming industries, supporting the growth of micro, small to medium-sized enterprises, boosting development in rural and far-reaching areas, building various infrastructure across the archipelago, while of course boosting the development of manufacturing industries through the construction of special economic zones. And since 2005, the country's economy has once again seen exponential growth, with the value of Indonesia's GDP rising from 2,729 trillion in 2005 up to 16,970 trillion rupiah by 2021, while GDP per capita has also gone up from $1,239 in 2005 up to $4,349 in 2021.
What we see is from that initial plans, a lot of the industrial area developed, special economic zone developed, and I think it's bring a positive impact. Many of the multinational corporations, industry, plantations, they also want to increase the capacity and therefore absorbing a lot of the human resource, the local employment. And I think this is bring the rebound of the GDP of around 5% in the last 5 years.
This 20-year development plan from 2005 to 2025, there are some targets in terms of economic growth and also economic equality, a more distributed, more equal economic development, not only Java and outside Java, but also between city and also villages. And the 20-year development plan also touched on the importance of small and medium enterprises and cooperatives as a fundamental economic backbone for Indonesia, because over 90% of enterprises or firms in Indonesia is actually small and medium enterprises. In 2005, our GDP is about $286 billion US dollars. And this year, in 2022, we estimate that the GDP will reach about one trillion point 23 US dollars, which means that more than quadruple of the GDP in 2005. So over less than 20 years, the GDP has grown 4 times bigger.
And now Indonesia is also entering into a different and new phase of development, namely the development of its digital economy. In regards to this, Indonesia has seen wonderful success thanks to its large population, in which over 73% or 204 million Indonesians are internet users, but also thanks to its many creative, innovative, and successful tech companies. By 2021, Indonesia has become the largest digital economy in Southeast Asia, as its value has nearly doubled from $47 billion in 2020 to $70 billion by 2021, and there's still plenty of room to grow.
Yeah, it's very big. The potential is huge in Indonesia because of our size, the population size, but also if we look at recently, the internet penetration is high, and the use of digital transactions, for example, has been increasing very fast and accelerating. And if we look at the people, especially in the younger population, they become more alert to the digital world. So we need to adapt to that, not to make sure that we use the potentials not only in the economy, but also, for example, to increase the government revenue in the public sector, and also to help the small and medium enterprises, because digitalization is one of the things that that can provide the small firms to access larger and better markets.
So although many challenges remain, Indonesia's economy is on a good track with a healthy exports industry, budding infrastructure development, and of course, looking to the future with its booming digital economy and tech industries. President Joko Widodo has even expressed confidence that Indonesia can be an economic superpower and become the 4th largest economy in the world by 2045.
Kita memiliki peluang besar, tadi sudah disampaikan di awal, menjadi negara ekonomi terkuat, bisa masuk 5 besar ekonomi terkuat dunia, dan bisa masuk ke 4 besar ekonomi terkuat dunia di 2045. Memiliki peluang besar untuk masuk ke sana.
So therefore, there is a lot of things to do to achieve that goals. But I'm very optimistic if the government can do great leap forward to increase the production level. But in the meantime, connecting that production level with the industrial manufacturers and agriculture as a source of raw materials, I think that can be like a huge motors of the growth until 2045. But I think it's very possible that we can increase our status to become high-income countries if we can have some kind of the good reform on the way.
This year alone and the next, Indonesia's economy is already performing exceptionally well, despite the challenges of the pandemic and challenges brought on by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as Indonesia's growth is projected to grow by 5.1% in 2022 and grow by 5.3% in 2023. So as Indonesia celebrates its 77th Independence Day, indeed the spirit of unity, growth, and tenacity remains strong even amid the many deep and dire challenges.